Hey there guys, DMO73 here, bringing you some more spoiler coverage of Curse of the Frozen Casket. We are finally jumping into the fire cards, starting with our ruler. So we have Mars, the fortune teller of the fire star. He's a 7 luminaries mage. His judgment is 3, he's got the energize, and he has mana 2. And it says as the game starts, you put 2 mana counters on this card. And he has the ability to remove a mana counter from himself, produce red, and you can only spend this will to play ancient magic cards. So this is pretty interesting, as it's important to see that we're going to have that ancient magic, right? So that's that subclass that we've seen back when we saw Black Moonbeam come out. So we're going to obviously be seeing more kinds of that with this stuff. So let's go ahead and see what else we have here. So he flips over into Mars, the Dark Commander of Fire. So he's a 10/10 with mana 5. And he says, but the kind of cost is that as this card enters your field, you may remove a card named Demon of the Crest Namblot in your hand from the game. And if you do, it enters the field with 5 mana counters on it. So if you have Namblot in your hand, when he flips, you get to RFG it, and you suddenly get those 5 extra things. So an extra will production for all your burn spells is pretty interesting. And he has first strike as long as Namblot is in your removed area and was removed by this card. So if you pay this kind of cost, you get the extra counters, you get the first strike, and then he still has the same ability. You can remove a counter from this card to produce red and spend it only to play ancient magic cards. Okay, so that's pretty interesting. And then we have, so here's Namblot, right? So 2-drop, 5/5 with swiftness. When he enters the field, it deals 400 damage to target J/ruler if your ruler is Mars. And at the end of the turn, he comes back to your hand. So he's this kind of splash in, swing in, hit some damage, and then come back into your hand. So that's a pretty interesting concept, this kind of bouncing thing, especially since, you know, it's nice that he comes back to your hand to be able to be exiled. His stats are a little low, but the fact that he does come in with that extra, you know, that burn damage is pretty nice to be able to just instantly hit something. So we'll have to see where he falls based on the scenario. Then we have Ancient Heartfelt Fire is a quick cast, ancient magic. Choose one. This card deals 400 damage to target J Resonator or put 3 mana counters on your ruler. So he can pump up your number of mana counters you have, or deal 400 damage to something and just burn it outright. So note this is ancient magic, so you can use mana counters on this card. So that's very important to note here. Then we have Invitation of Disaster, 3 cost, another ancient magic. This is a chance though. So choose one. This card deals 800 damage to target Resonator, or 2,000 if it was awakened, or if this card was, or deal 800 to your opponent, or 2,000 if it's awakened. So key thing to note here: this is a 3-drop by itself. Its awakened is 8. So if you want to pay 11, you can burn someone for 2,000 damage. Now normally I would say that's unplayable, but with the mana counters idea of Mars, this card becomes playable in a sense that, you know, you're kind of building up the mana counters on Mars to drop this big spell. This definitely pushes Mars towards being a burn ruler, and I think that's very interesting. You know, obviously this card can be canceled, so there's, you know, some cost to it, and kind of got to pay really close attention to what's going on. But I think it's interesting that we're seeing these kind of burn effects, a win condition outside of just Resonators, just able to like bam 2,000 damage, or if I hit you with 2 of these, you're just done. So that's pretty cool. I'm excited to see Red be taken in that kind of burn direction as opposed to aggro, because we've seen nothing but aggro from Red for a very long time. So this is pretty cool. Now we have Combat Wizard of Altea, and Altea is the lands that they all come from. So he's a 3/2 wizard. When he enters the field, you put a mana counter on, and then you can remove a mana counter to give him swiftness. So this is pretty cool. So you start with 2 mana counters already. So you play this guy turn 1, you essentially put one on, and then it can immediately remove it, stay at 2, and then swing in for 300 right off the cuff. So there is that kind of little mini aggro strategy there to get that extra little bit of first damage in, which I think is interesting. But he only has 200 defense, so he's pretty flimsy. I think he's primarily there just to be able to do like pay 1, get an extra counter for later, and cycle up those mana counters for your big spells. Then we have the Dragon Knight of Altea, who is a 2-drop, 6/6, and for 1 red, she can gain flying until the end of the turn. So pretty straightforward. Don't see anything too impressive here. On turn 3, she's going to be able to be flying 600 damage at your face. So that's pretty good. Then we have the Tiny Reconnaissance Dragon. It's another dragon, 2/2, and it says you may pay 1 colorless less to play Resonators with total cost 5 or more. So the interesting thing here is the high end gets cheaper with this guy, but he's so weak that he's going to be pretty easy to kill. But I think the whole idea is, if you put this at a different threat on the board, do they pick to try to kill the Tiny Reconnaissance Dragon or the threat that's more present? So making your opponent make that choice. Obviously, you don't want to play this turn 1. There's really no point in that. But playing this turn 3 or turn 4 to set up your big play later could be possibly pretty effective. And finally, we have the card that's providing the most amounts of controversy. So this is the Flame Dragon of Altea. It is a 12/12 dragon with flying. And it says you pay 1 more to play this card for each card in your hand. So here's the interesting thing. His total cost is only 2, which is weird, because that means that he's in Flame King Shout range. So, like, you could play Flame King Shout and bring this guy into play, and then suddenly you have a 12/12 with Swiftness coming at your face that also has flying, so there's really no way for you to block it. There's some concerns here. Going for a second stone, you're probably going to have about 3 cards in your hand, so he probably sits at around a 5-drop. The weird thing will be the wording is if this effect gets added to his total cost. So, if you have to have only him in your hand after playing Flame King Shout for him to be able to be brought into play, then that makes more sense. But if you can just throw like turn 3 Flame King Shout into this guy, that's something that we definitely have to watch out for. That can be a lot of damage kind of all out, out of nowhere. But it's a 2-card combo, right? So you have to expect that you have maybe something to be able to answer it. And we have a lot of things right now that can, change things that affect that. So just important to note that it can, at this point, be brought with Flame King Shout, and there's some controversy around there. But overall, I think the artwork's kind of cool. I like this fact that it seems like he's playing Mars's idea is to kind of get rid of his hand, which is kind of interesting. Same with kind of Allosaurus. Allosaurus liked the RFG zone, didn't really like his hand very much. So that's cool to see. I think they're probably from the same location, Altea, with the way their magic works and everything else. So pretty cool overall. But let me know what you guys think. Go ahead and leave a like, comment, and subscribe with your thoughts about these new cards. Are you excited for the fact that red is moving towards more burn than aggro? I know I definitely am. But let me tell what you guys think. And as always, until next time, guys, this is TMO73 signing off.